in a discussion earlier today about Arecibo and the tracking of near-Earth objects and the fact that without the Arecibo telescope, we will not be able to actually track the trajectory of newly observed near-Earth objects, so that we will not know if some newly observed near-Earth object is actually going to hit the planet and kill millions of people. We won't know that without Arecibo, and there just seems to be this battle going on about whether or not that's worth funding, and it's a $5 million expenditure, and they're already laying people off at Arecibo. Now, I'm listening to all of these other things, and I'm wondering why that's more important than being able to protect the lives of millions of people should a near-Earth object, which we know appear every now and then. How is it what you're doing is more important than that?
Sir, perhaps I'll speak for the agency, and others may wish to speak as well. We, as you know and as you've encouraged, we have an active program to detect near-Earth objects, to plot their orbits, to determine when they're potentially hazardous.
Right. And without Arecibo, how will that?
Sir, with the detection techniques that we use are optical; they're not radar.
Yes.
And in fact, most of the orbit determination work is done without radar. It's rare that even with Arecibo, that a small near-Earth asteroid comes close enough to be detected by radar. And that has to do with the technical nature of radar.
So my description of that the Arecibo telescope is a necessary component to determine the trajectory of near-Earth objects is not an accurate description.
Sir, I think those facts you've got it right, exactly right.
Okay.
In fact, we do that by optical techniques. When an object does come very close, we can take advantage of radar to improve the orbits, but it's extremely fortuitous, extremely rare that an object comes sufficiently close.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, is Arecibo significant? Is that what is necessary for us to realizing that near-Earth objects that come close to the Earth are rare, but also realizing that a rare object can kill millions of people, if not even create worse problems? Is the Arecibo telescope not vital to the mission of tracking that, or can you track it with just optics? Are you telling me you can just track the trajectory with just optics?
Yes, sir. Arecibo is a nice to have, but it is not required, and it alone, for example, would not be able to track most near-Earth asteroids.
So I've been given the wrong information. Arecibo is not necessary. And are you all in concurrence with that? Arecibo is not necessary for the tracking of to getting the right trajectory, so we know if an object is going to hit the Earth or not? Yes, sir?
Sir, I would say that the techniques of radar and optical are complementary to one another. Each has strengths, each has weaknesses. I believe that if we had the Arecibo capability, it would strengthen our capabilities in this area. It's difficult to use words like essential or not useful at all. There's a gray zone in between. Arecibo could make a significant contribution. There are many of us in the planetary science community.
Let me ask you this, make it a little more thing. Would it make you say a significant contribution, and it makes a difference, but it's, is it possible that you could have a near-Earth object that we find that is traced with our optics, and that without the Arecibo that we could make a mistake, and that it would actually be something that could possibly hit the Earth, where otherwise with the Arecibo we would be able to know that it was going to hit the Earth? Is it,
well, speaking as a scientist, I don't think it would be responsible for me to say it's impossible, but I think it would be extremely unlikely. Keep in mind...
Well, it's also, by the way, it's also extremely unlikely that anything will ever hit the Earth, period. We know that in our lifetime. But given something that's up there, how unlikely, you say, it would only help us 10% more?
Well, I can't assign a number for it. I'd be happy to take that for the record and do an analysis, but I will tell you that we have other radar tools in our inventory that are NASA assets. Arecibo, I remind you, is an NSF asset, and NSF chose not to fund it. It's not a NASA asset.
Yeah, no, what I've got
we
back
are funding
from NASA,
our radar assets.
NSF and NASA are both fighting who's going to get $5 million more in their budget, and the other guy has to have. This is all, as far as I'm concerned, it's all bureaucratic budgeting and game playing with turf just to save $5 million in their budget. But this is the first time that I have, Mr. Chairman, this is the first time I've asked this question in which I've received the answer that Arecibo is not an essential element to tracking near-Earth objects. So I'm glad you're on the record now, because we'll look into that. And frankly, this is the first time, and I take it that everybody concurs with that, except you have a little bit of a disagreement.
Can I at least decide whether I've got to concur or not here for a moment?
Please, I ask.
I just remind you that
Yes.
that in the last years, I believe it was in the Appropriations Act, there was a congressionally requested study of the National Academy on this issue, that is to assess, including the role of Arecibo in this problem, and the Academy is currently forming a committee as requested with NASA sponsorship to give you that kind of an answer on all aspects of this thing. And I think I think that will provide you with all the information that you need.
That's very good. And when is that due?
Oh, help me out, Harsha. Late 2009. That's an Academy study.
Well, by then, Arecibo will be closed up, and that doesn't sound like it's going to help us at all. Mr. Chairman, we've got some decisions to make, and I'm going to be looking directly, and I thank you for that. You're the first person, we've been discussing this for 2 years, and you're the first person who stepped forward and said, no, Arecibo isn't really that essential. So thank you.
I thank the gentleman from California for his passion and for his interest in this. And as he and I have discussed, we are on, and as the ranking member also has been involved, we are on track to reauthorize NASA